Game 7 of the RLCS Season 8 Finals. Vitality versus NRG. Winner takes the trophy, loser goes home. All on the line. It was the first time I had really found myself immersed in an esport live. Then I witnessed a legendary goal and I knew one thing was certain. I fell in love with this game. So hello everyone, my name is Shmenty and this is my tribute to Rocket League. There's just nothing quite like the experience of a Rocket League game. I mean, I felt the same at 100 hours, and I feel the same at my now ridiculous 850 hours. There's the rush of a goal line save, the horror of watching the seconds dwindle away while you're down a goal. It's something unlike anything I've ever experienced, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I know everyone does this, but it actually does help me, so if you guys could please subscribe if you enjoy the content, it helps me out a ton just growing as a small user. Rocket League, at its simplest, can be broken down into car soccer, but I completely believe that that doesn't do it justice. I'll touch on why I love that this game can be broken down so simply and easily later, but for now I want to touch on the core gameplay loop. You see, you start with visions of grandeur. You've watched a couple of RLCS Pro matches, and you see these guys flying cars with perfect control and hitting these insane shots. It's kind of like watching pro sports. You see these people that have dedicated their life to mastering the sport, and you want to do that. You see a guy hit a top 90 shot in soccer, you see an amazing catch in football, whatever it may be. And you think to yourself, hey, I can do that. So you go to the field, and what happens? You fail. You fail over and over again, but eventually, that little voice in your head, that tiny little voice called persistence, gets to you. And it keeps getting to you until after hours of practice, after days on that field, you hit that shot. You make that catch. You've succeeded. Once. Now you have to do it consistently. Rocket League is no different, at least not for me. I bought the game back with my Xbox One in 2016, played about 2 to 3 games against bots, and could not hit the ball. So I did the only rational thing that there was. I uninstalled and forgot about that game until late 2019. That's when I watched a certain game. On December 15th, 2019, I watched Garrett G, Turbo Pulsa, and Justin win RLCS. And after watching it, I fell in love. I knew nothing about the lore of the game or what was on the line for this NRG lineup, but I knew then and there that I had to start playing it. So I found 2 of my closest friends that I already knew were good at the game, and they were already in Plat and Diamond, respectively, and I started playing with them. Rocket League is not a linear path. You don't start Bronze and rank up every 50 hours or something. No, I started in Silver after spending some time in training, but every day I had a reason to hit the training pack, to grind. Instead of just playing 3s with my friends, I wanted to get as good as them. And that wouldn't happen if I just played 3s, so I had to hit those training packs. I had to hit custom training. I had to research and watch YouTube. And I had to hit these shots and mechanics that I wanted to be able to. The biggest mechanic I wanted to master was dribbling. Of course, I loved watching flip resets and sealing shots from these pro players, but for some reason, dribbling just seemed the most real to me. I was fascinated watching these amazing players hit the ball and rest it perfectly on their car and just turn their opponents into bronze players. I wanted to do it so badly, so I tried. I tried as hard as I could in my games, but I could not control it. But slowly and surely, I began to give up. Then I found a custom training pack that had started the ball on top of my car, and I decided to grind as hard as I could to learn it. There was one flick in particular I wanted to learn more than anything, the musty flick. If you don't know what the musty flick is, it's a flick where you have the ball on the very tip of your car, then jump, drop your nose towards the ground like a half backflip, and then flip your car to send the ball at crazy speeds and a really weird angle into the goal. I had just one problem. I was a silver. As it turned out, the little naive player I sucked at car control. At the time, I was approaching 50 hours. I had ranked up a decent amount and could see my progression, but it was taking time to take it to the next level. So I dedicated myself to getting better. I practiced in training over and over again and played 1s more than playing 3s with my friends. I practiced, and my rank began to take note. My team worked perfectly together. One of my friends was insanely good at aerials and consistent. I was the flashy dribbler, and my other friend was a consistent player and our best defender. Together, we ranked up a ton, had a ton of fun, and got comfortable with each other. This story might seem rare to you, like it's just a one-off story that nobody else has, but there are tons just like this. And that's what Rocket League does to you. It gives you a window to see how far you've come. Through these last couple of years, it's been something that I can consistently get better at, something I could work at. Esports have become all the rage recently. Over 100 million people watched the League of Legends Championship in 2019. But there's a separation between avid fan and just an esports enjoyer. Let's take a look at regular sports. I can know nothing about a sport, but if I watch a game on TV, I can still get hyped and go crazy for a last-minute goal or an insane catch or something, because they are simple to understand. You don't need to know every nuance about the rules to enjoy watching them, because even the lowest common denominator of human can understand them. Esports is a different story. Going back to League of Legends, I know nothing about the game at all. Never played it, not my type of game in the slightest. So when I see these clips online of crazy mechanics or insane plays, I can't really appreciate just how good these players are. And that's the story for a lot of games like this. Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege, etc. Really, the only esports that the regular population can enjoy are games like F1 or NBA 2K. Games that mimic real-life sports that everybody understands and knows. That is, until Rocket League came out. Back on that cold December day in 2019, I knew nothing about this game. What were these casters talking about? What was a ceiling shot? Who made these muffins so squishy? I did not have a clue what was going on, and yet I understood the tension of overtime. And when I saw that ball go into that goal, I got chills.
We have overtime! One goal, Shogun, that's all it's going to take! Eerily similar. Garrett, can he have a different result this time? Great play to this corner. Very pin. He's got past two players. Looks for a bump. Garrett G clears line. Justin!
When NRG raised that trophy, I felt a sense of pride, like I was up there with them. And that's why this game is such an amazing opportunity. It's a way for the general population to get into esports without having to study or play the game. Sure, you may not have as much appreciation for a flip reset or a fake, but you can still comprehend it. And that's something we just haven't seen with many esports. And I think as this game keeps growing and this pesky little virus goes away, we might actually start seeing more and more people get into it. The simplicity of Rocket League is what makes the game what it is. It can attract children and it can attract adults. You don't have to have an IQ of 150 to play, and you don't need special conditions. The simplicity gets you in, but then you look up. And you realize the skill ceiling isn't just high, it's nearly non-existent. Don't believe me? It's been 5 years since the game dropped, and yet not one major change to the gameplay has happened. And yet the meta changes a lot on a monthly basis as the player base progresses through the game. It's a phenomenon that I can't really comprehend coming from other games, but it means that the game does not need consistent and constant updates to survive like Rainbow or Fortnite. This game cannot get stale because there are new mechanics being discovered to this day. I've seen people doing things recently that even pros can't do, but I'll touch more on that insane part of the community which we call freestyling later. To really figure out if I was the only one that felt all these things about this beautiful game, I decided to dive a little deeper. So I interviewed my longtime best friend and fellow content creator, JAKESCLEAN. Go check out his Twitch and his YouTube where he hosts Rocket League community tournaments and has insanely amazing streams. But anyways, here's the interview. So is there a competitive long-term future for this game, or do you think it's gonna die out in the next couple of years?
I think there is a long-term future for the esports scene for Rocket League. Like I said, the esports scene evolves as time goes on. There are new mechanics learned. I would say we're pretty close to reaching the skill ceiling for Rocket League. But you know, esports 2v2s has never been explored. I watched this video. I think it was Sunless Khan. He was exploring the possibility of esports Rumble, which sounds crazy because everyone thinks it's just, you know, purely RNG and that it's luck. But there are pure strats in Rumble. I could see that being explored. There's so much potential going on. for the future of esports Rocket League, I think. So I think there is a long-term future. Yeah.
So, do you think the success of Rocket League, of I guess this idea that there can be games where you do control literally everything, where luck is
Mhm.
not really in the factor, do you think that that's like a one-time thing, or do you think that this will be repeated in the future for other massively popular games?
I think it'll be really hard for them to replicate exactly what Rocket League is.
So I guess why Rocket League for content creation? Because you're very versed in Rocket League. I mean, it's pretty much what you built your Twitch following on.
Mhm.
So why Rocket League?
So Rocket League was definitely not the initial intended game to main while I was streaming on Twitch. I think I started off with Fortnite, moved on to Cold War. But there was something about when I started streaming Rocket League that just brought people in and allowed me to have a free form, free flowing type of content.
Hmm.
So I would start to host community tournaments, and um, we would do 1v1s, 2v2s. If I had enough people, 3v3s.
Hmm.
Um, and there was something about just the community aspect of these tournaments that really grew me an audience. And I'm thankful for everyone that would join my tournaments, and it allowed me to gain, a good amount of viewers. And that's not where that's just like how I gained an audience from content creation on Rocket League. There's so many ways to
Yeah.
gain an audience through content creation on Rocket League, and it goes the same way how esports has so much potential. Rocket League esports, I think Rocket League content creation still has a lot of potential, and I mean, there's something for everyone in the game, and you just got to tap in. The entire community's skill levels are rising
Hmm.
um, as we move forward. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I'm not alone in feeling this idea. This idea that Rocket League is unlike everything else I've ever played. This idea that 5 minutes, as well as a possible overtime, can bring with it a perfect gameplay loop that is incredibly satisfying to both play and watch. Not only does this game give the opportunity to play and enjoy to those who purchase the game, but recently the game has become free to play. That's right, completely free. If you haven't tried Rocket League before, you really need to. There's nothing holding you back, as the game is a downright masterpiece that in my words cannot even describe. I desperately want to go into more detail about why this game is so amazing, but to be honest, I don't think any of us content creators can do it justice. There's some amazing videos about this game that I highly recommend you go check out, but if you really want to learn about Rocket League, if you really want to learn why we love this game, all you really have to do is download it. Sure, it's not for everyone, but it's for a lot of people. If you haven't given it the opportunity, try it. Go download it off the Epic Games launcher or on whichever console you use, and just tell me how it is. To Psyonix, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for making such a masterpiece of a game. It's something that is worthy of your time, it's worthy of my praise, and I just hope that more and more people get to experience what I've experienced. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and if not, tell me what I can do better. With that out of the way, I'll see you guys next time.